Lil Woody has sparked massive controversy across the hip-hop world after publicly destroying Young Thug's name, shading him heavily, and even going as far as to say he's coming for blood, a shocking outburst fueled by his disgust over Young Thug's latest album that not only featured rappers like YFN Lucci, but also included desperate pleas to Gunna, the very man Thug has been caught in the web of betrayal with. And Woody's reaction has set the streets, the industry, and fans worldwide on fire. The situation between Lil Woody and Young Thug is not something that happened overnight. It has been brewing for years in the shadows, waiting for the perfect storm to explode into the open. And now, the storm is here. To understand why Woody's words sting so much and why his sudden rage feels so authentic, you have to look at the history of these characters in this larger-than-life street opera. Hip-hop isn't just about music. It's about respect, loyalty, survival, and the code of silence that once governed every move in the streets of Atlanta. Lil Woody, often painted as a man who had too much information, too many whispers in his ear, and too many secrets buried in his heart, always had a strained and complicated relationship with Thugger. Please do not forget to like this video, share, and subscribe to this channel if you want more updates like this. Thank you. Now, let's get back into the video. Once upon a time, Woody was orbiting around the YSL camp, close enough to taste the power, the fame, the money, but never quite close enough to sit at the table comfortably. He lived in that space where you're both needed and expendable, feared and underestimated. Men in that position either remain shadows or eventually lash out. Woody chose the latter. So when Young Thug, despite his ongoing RICO trial, decided to drop an album that shocked the entire industry, Woody saw red. The album didn't just carry Thug's signature eccentricity, it carried scars. You could hear Thug bleeding in every bar, still trying to hold on to respect, still begging for relevance. And in what many called a desperate move, he included tracks where he practically begged Gunna, the same Gunna that everyone accused of snitching, to come back to the fold. Even worse for Woody was the inclusion of YFN Lucci, a man with deep-seated beef with Thug, a man connected to blood and war in Atlanta. To Woody, this was blasphemy. It was betrayal of the streets, betrayal of the code, betrayal of everything YSL once stood for. In Woody's mind, Thug was supposed to be the general, the unshakable soldier standing tall even in a cell. But instead, Thug looked like a broken man, making peace with old enemies and crawling back to men who turned their backs on him. That was the trigger. And Woody, being Woody, didn't keep it in. He went public. He shaded Thug in interviews, on live streams, in cryptic posts. He called him weak. He called him desperate. He said the Thug he once knew was gone, replaced by a hollow shell. Then Woody dropped a nuclear line that sent shockwaves everywhere. "I'm coming for blood." The words were simple, but the weight was unbearable. In the streets, blood doesn't always mean literal death, but it never means peace. It's a declaration of war, a promise of humiliation, a vow to dismantle someone's reputation piece by piece until nothing remains. And that's what Woody seems to be doing. Because when Woody talks, people listen. They may hate him, they may distrust him, but they listen because he's seen things, he knows things. He carries receipts others can't afford to expose. And in this game, perception is everything. If enough people start believing that Thug is finished, then Thug is finished, regardless of what the courts say. Woody began pointing out how Thug's new music sounded more like confessions and flexes, how the collaborations with Lucci and the mentions of Gunna showed weakness, not strength. He laughed at how Thug, once the innovator who dictated the culture, was now clinging to rivals just to stay afloat. Fans, bloggers, and industry insiders quickly picked up the conversation. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. Was Thug the king of Atlanta, or just another fallen soldier trying to rewrite his legacy from a prison cell? Woody's words cut even deeper because of timing. At a moment when Thug needs solidarity, when he needs silence and loyalty, the last thing he expected was for Woody to turn into a public executioner. But Woody thrives on moments like this. He thrives on chaos. He thrives on making sure people see him as the one unafraid to speak, when everyone else is silent. To Woody, Thug's attempt to mend fences with Lucci was like raising a white flag. That was Thug's ultimate sin, because the war between YFN and YSL had already claimed blood. People lost lives. Families were shattered. Scars were etched into Atlanta streets forever. And here was Thug, on wax, trying to act like all of that could be erased with a verse and a hook. Woody wasn't having it. He reminded people that you don't just feature an enemy like Lucci. You either destroy him, or you keep his name out your mouth. Anything else is weakness. That's why Woody called him out. Not quietly, but loudly, publicly, viciously. He wanted everyone to see that he wasn't afraid to call young Thug what no one else dared to: soft. What makes this whole saga even crazier is how much it reflects the fractured state of hip-hop loyalty. Just look at the dominoes. Gunna's snitching allegations tore apart the YSL empire. Thug's trial left him looking vulnerable, and now his desperate musical alliances made him look broken. Into that chaos stepped Woody, holding the mic like a sword, slicing away at Thug's legacy. And the fans are eating it up. Social media exploded with debates. Some fans said Woody was just bitter, a clout chaser who has nothing to lose and everything to gain from trashing Thug. Others said Woody was speaking the truth everyone was too scared to admit. And that's the real danger, perception becoming reality. If enough people believe Woody's version of events, then Thug's carefully crafted image as the street general, the leader of YSL, the man who could bend fashion and music to his will, crumbles to dust. Let's not forget, Woody saying he's coming for blood wasn't just about words. It was also about music. Rumors started swirling that Woody was planning to drop his own diss track, maybe even a whole project, aimed directly at Thug, exposing his weaknesses and humiliating him in the process. Imagine the headlines if Woody drops a track where he outlines all of Thug's desperate plays, all the private moments no one's supposed to know about. The industry would eat it alive. The bloggers would spin it into gold. And Thug, stuck behind bars, would be powerless to respond. That's the nightmare scenario. And Woody knows it. But beneath Woody's anger is something deeper: betrayal. Woody once believed in Thug. He believed in YSL. He believed that the streets had order and loyalty. Now, watching Thug beg for Gunna's forgiveness and hug Lucci musically, Woody feels like everything he stood for was spat on, and that betrayal burns. It fuels him. It gives his words venom. Whether you love Woody or hate him, you can't deny that his attacks hit different, because they come from a man who once stood close to the empire he's now burning down. He's not an outsider throwing rocks. He's an insider tearing down the foundation, and that makes him dangerous.